Yo, what's going on, everybody out there in Facebook land? About to get rocking and rolling, talking about a very important subject tonight. Subject that a lot of our ethnic community struggles with. So it's definitely something that we're going to jump into and get busy with it. Wait for about uh, 1 or 2 minutes, and then we're gonna get rocking and rolling. What's up, Derek? What's going on, man? Hope you good. Hope you good. So yeah, we'll wait a couple more minutes. So at least we got about 10 people or so, and then we're gonna get busy. Hope everybody's out there surviving, doing their thing. All right, yeah, we already there. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it then. Hope everybody's doing good. Ain't nobody going crazy yet um, over the COVID-19 quarantine. Just hope everybody's being smart and thankful once again for our healthcare workers out there. They're just like the military right now, diligently protecting us, saving our lives, putting their life on the line in order for them to um, I'm thinking now, man, at the end of the day, these healthcare workers are a godsend. You know what I mean? So I thank each and every one of them who are risking so much each day to go out there and save um, our lives. So tonight we're going to talk about specifically beating high blood pressure with food. And as nutritionists, it comes down to blood pressure, hypertension, and how it affects the body. And that's a couple of things we're going to talk about first. And then we're going to get into some foods, and then we're going to get into things just overall that you can do to avoid causing your blood pressure to increase. And if you already are on medication, maybe weaning yourself off of it. Maybe not completely, depending on the severity, but at least wean yourself, because there's several blood pressure medications that are out there. So lifestyle is going to play an important role in treating your high blood pressure. If you successfully control your blood pressure with a healthy lifestyle, you might avoid, delay, or reduce the need for medication. Aloha from Hawaii as well. Hey, how are you? God bless. So fiddling with your diet, like when it comes to cholesterol, makes perfect sense, right? After all, cholesterol ends up in your arteries and starts out in food. So that makes complete sense. But changing your diet to control blood pressure doesn't seem quite as straightforward. Yet, food can have a direct role and sometimes a dramatic effect on your blood pressure. As we all know, salt certainly plays a role, and we'll get in that tonight. But there is far more to blood pressure friendly diets than minimizing salt. Everybody's like, "Oh, you got to reduce salt." That is not the end all be all, to reducing your blood pressure. Fruits, vegetables, low fat dairy, beans, nuts, whole grain carbs, and unsaturated fats also have an immense healthy effect on your blood pressure. And be honest, as we always hear on best practices, there isn't one single magic food on this list. So please, don't think, hey, I need to take this particular food or take this particular supplement, and that's going to minimize my blood pressure. So you got to be very careful there. Instead, it's the foundation, right? For an all around healthy eating strategy that's good for your blood pressure, and that is, also good for so much more. And we'll get in that tonight. So, I'm going to be talking about the trials that I've seen in Harvard, a couple of studies I was able to review. I did get a lot of information from the Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension, or DASH. So if you guys want to do some more research after we have our discussion tonight, please look up DASH, DASH, and again, that stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. So that's what that means. And the DASH variants, like OmniHeart diet, Mediterranean type diets, they do lower blood pressure in people with hypertension, high blood pressure, and those that are actually headed in that direction as well. They also help prevent some of the fear consequences of high blood pressure as well. So what we're going to talk about tonight, why bother, right? Hypertension is the ultimate stealth condition. You never know when you have it without having your blood pressure measured. So that makes it kind of scary, right? Or until high blood pressure begins to damage your vital organs. Remember, it passed through heredity and genetics. People have that issue as well. I know it runs in my family, high blood pressure. My grandmother had it. My father has it. I am very susceptible to have it. And sometimes I don't have high blood pressure, but my blood pressure is elevated. And, I eat as healthy can be. But, some of those hereditary and those genetic codes that are in there cause things to be hypersensitive that normally wouldn't be in somebody who doesn't have high blood pressure. So, half of the 65 million Americans with high blood pressure don't have it under control. So that's about 32.5 million Americans don't have their high blood pressure, do not have it under control. Now, that's worrisome given the insidious consequences of high blood pressure, right? It is the leading cause of stroke in the United States. That's something that I did not know until I researched today and yesterday about this. It's the leading cause of stroke in the United States. It also contributes to thousands of heart attacks. There's the link there. It overworks heart muscles and it leads to heart failure because your heart is working so hard. It damages your kidneys. It erodes your sight, which is something that I did know that actually erodes your sight. It interferes with your memory, something that I with high blood pressure. So sometimes people feel that they're in a fog or they really can't remember, especially in their short-term memory, and they have an elevated high blood pressure. There is a direct correlation link and studies that are out there that shows that high blood pressure interferes with your memory. It puts a damper on sexual activity and it steals years off your life. So, there's different, blood pressure categories as well. And, just to be, I pulled it up on the actual site, and this is changes sometimes. Normal or optimal, your systolic is 120, which is your top number. Your diastolic is 80. Elevated is between, your systolic is between 120 to 129. Your diastolic is over 80. And then the stage 1 hypertension is 130 to 139, your systolic, 80 to 89, your diastolic. And stage 2 hypertension is over 140 and then over 90. And that's when you're in your stage 2. Actually, that's changed a couple of years ago. It was a little bit higher than that, and they brought it back down. So you can look that on the DASH website as well. Those are your blood pressure categories. There are drugs out there that lower your blood pressure as well, and they tend to work. But they don't necessarily attack the cause of the problem. And I'll say that again. There are drugs out there and they do work well to lower your blood pressure, but they do not necessarily attack the cause of the problem. And we'll get into that a little bit tonight as well. And no matter how safe they are, all drugs can have some unwanted or unintended side effects. That's just the way it is. A healthy diet is an effective first line defense for preventing high blood pressure. That's one of the first things. Also, it is an excellent initial treatment when blood pressure creeps into that unhealthy zone, and a perfect partner for medications. Unfortunately, translating the dietary strategies, tested in clinical trials into diets for daily life hasn't really been easy. There's evidence-based things out there that I wanted to kind of discuss tonight to really kind of put some things into perspective and to really break it down to where we're all understanding the importance of diet and how diet can actually take your blood pressure and minimize it because of the things that those certain nutrients and minerals are doing inside of your bloodstream. So here's the evidence that I found from the Harvard Review, some things off the DASH website. I encourage everybody to also do your research as well. And that here's an evidence based about diet and blood pressure, and basically a little shopping list as well. So first thing, eat more nuts and more legumes. Those have been linked and scientifically studied to lower blood pressure. Another thing that is helpful that doesn't take medication is trying to burn at least as many calories each day as you take in. That's something that we can talk about a little bit later as well. Turn to vegetables and fruits instead of those sugary and salty snacks we all like and those desserts. If you're going to eat bread, if you're going to eat pasta and other carb-rich foods that are made, make sure that they're made with whole grains instead of the highly refined white flour, because we know that's an extraction, and anything that's extracted and processed isn't going to be healthy for you because it's not in its natural state and it's not in its natural form. Now, eat fruits instead of drinking fruit juice. We know how much sugar that they put in fruit juice as well. Use unsaturated fats like olive, soybean, peanut. If you have to use, oil, you have to use, instead of using butter, use, coconut oil, palm kernel oil. There's a lot of different alternatives out there now. So please ensure that when you're utilizing unsaturated fats, use them in a proper manner, like we said, and rely on fresh or frozen foods instead of canned and processed foods because of the sodium chloride or the salt that's going to be inside of those things in order to preserve them, right? So there's some whole grains that hurt your stomach. That's on Yvette, that's a great thing. I've researched that as well. Sometimes that has to deal with your probiotics or how your body is processing your gut bacteria if they can't break down very well. Sometimes whole grains give you people gas as well. So it's really the specific types of whole grains that you're utilizing. So you just want to make sure that you have good gut and micro gut health. And if micro gut health, you can take probiotics, and that has helped out a lot. Another question. My dad combated high blood pressure with food. Love hearing. Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. And please keep the questions coming. Thanks, Casey. I appreciate that. And, the food is going to be the most important thing that we can do. And if we can avoid medication, let's avoid the medication. So back on track. So choose, and please keep the questions coming. Thank you so much. So, choose low sodium foods whenever possible. Miss Dash, herbs, spices, vinegar, and other low sodium foods instead of flavoring it with salt. And, some, and I can only speak of, growing up, I would see my dad eat something, he hadn't even tasted it yet, and he's throwing salt on it, right? And that's just the way I kind of grew up because I'm from Georgia. We cook, with a lot of salt. Down there, a lot of fried things that's containing that sodium as well. So, where I'm from, that would be our soul food, right? So that soul food was killing our soul literally. So we just have to be a lot smarter nowadays. We have to be a lot more educated in ourselves, especially in the ethnic community and Hispanic and Black community where hypertension and heart disease is killing us. So we got to ensure that we're taking this as a prerogative. And decrease your caloric intake if you need to lose weight, right? Blood pressure often increases as weight increases. So, if you're heavy set, there's nothing wrong, with your body or your structure. I don't want to, come across as that, but losing weight and maintaining a healthy weight, I will say it, has a clinical and a scientific correlation that will lower your blood pressure and keep your blood pressure healthy. So the heavier you are, the tougher it is to keep that blood pressure from not being elevated. Being overweight also can cause disrupted breathing while you sleep, sleep apnea, and, with further raises your blood pressure as well. So not sleeping actually raises your blood pressure as well. A lot of people don't know that. So weight loss is one of the most effective lifestyle changes for controlling your blood pressure. Losing even a small amount of weight, 5 pounds, 7 pounds, if you're overweight or obese, can help reduce your blood pressure. Now, in general, you may reduce your blood pressure by 1 millimeter of mercury with each kilogram. Kilograms about 2.2 pounds of weight you lose. Now, eating a diet that is rich with whole grains. Hey, Lisa, what's going on? Fruits, vegetables, low-fat dairy products, and skimping on the saturated fats like we talked about, and cholesterol can lower your blood pressure by 11 millimeters of mercury if you have high blood pressure. So that's huge. That's absolutely huge. And that's just eating a diet, like I said, with whole grains. Don't get them in the can. Don't get them processed. Eat them in their natural form, because even with them putting them in a can, it is processed, right? Do you eat a can, you know what I mean, from a tree? So when you think of anything processed, and I think a lot of people get confused, and that's why I love our best practices show, because it kind of helps people understand on a really ground floor level what process means, right? Process means anything taken away from its natural derivative. So that means if I eat apples, right, and I go ahead and eat an apple from a tree, that is the organic intent of how to eat an apple. The moment I start cutting an apple up, slicing it, frying it, putting it in an apple pie, sure, that's an apple, but at the same time, you process its true form and true intent. So that's where a lot of information comes from. Once again, I'm going to plug their website, DASH, because it's Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. So please research that as well. And it's not an easy lifestyle change, right? You know, what here on Best Practices, I'm not telling you to cut back and be like all of a sudden, you know, you're depleted and this is, you know, what you're trying to do cold turkey. You know, it's going to take time. It's going to take practice. It's going to take a concerted effort. One thing that you can do is keep a food diary, right? I found that for my athletes and my clients, keeping a food diet, you know, even if I come up with their meal plans, if they need to deviate from that, keeping a food diary keeps them accountable, keeps them very honest. Writing down what you eat for even just the week will shed some light. I challenge everyone to write down every single thing that you eat. And you will be, even down to the stick of gum or a piece of candy, you will be very surprised of your true eating habits and how you can go ahead and cultivate a better way forward from the information that you have in front of you. Monitor what you eat, how much you eat, and when you eat in your journal, and I really think you can shed some light on and help in your situation if you have high blood pressure already or if you're on the verge of having high blood pressure. Also consider, and I found this in the Harvard research study, consider boosting potassium. Potassium can lessen the effects of sodium on blood pressure. That's actually proven with several different studies dating back to the 70s. The best source of potassium, of course, is food, such as fruits. We know bananas are high in potassium, and vegetables, rather than supplements. If you don't take potassium supplements if you don't have to, unless it's prescribed by your doctor and you see, you go to Walmart and you see A to Z of different supplements. 97, I think, is the percentage of those supplements you can get from whole fruits, whole vegetables, whole grains, and rather than taking supplements. So you can avoid supplements. And I think, from in nature, I think most of those vitamins are produced out there naturally and they're naturally occurring. So just be smart, right? Don't spend the extra money on the A through Z supplements when you're already getting that from your whole foods. Just be smart. And talk to your doctor, of course, about your potassium level and what's best for you. Be a smart shopper. Read the food labels. I have preached this on many of best practices that we have. Read your food labels. And when you shop, stick to your healthy eating plan. And when you're dining out too. I hear so many of my clients and so many of my athletes like, Coach, I've been good all week. And then I go out on the weekends and I lose my mind. Well, you just regressed everything that you busted your butt for during the week. You can't lose the weekend. And stop using the term cheat day. Having a cheat meal makes sense, right? You've busted your tail. You want to go get a burger and fries. You've counted for it. You say, hey, my saturated fat levels have been low all week. I'm going to get a burger and fries. That doesn't also mean in the morning, go to IHOP. Then after that, oh, I've done good, all week. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Five Guys. Then after that, after Five Guys, then I'm going to go ahead and have dessert at Cheesecake Factory. No, that's a cheat day. There's no such thing in the dietary confines of a 2,000 calorie diet, and that's mitigating depending on your body structure and your body type. But also a 2,000 calorie diet, just for argument's sake, does not mean you need to eat your 2,000 calories in one sitting and then do that times 3 because it's the weekend. So that also kicks up your blood pressure as well. So just reading the food labels, sticking to a healthy plan, even on the weekends, can also reduce. Thank you, Pooh Bear. I love these sessions. I really appreciate that. And you will soon be the doctor of all doctors. I'm so proud of you. Just one cheat snack. No, Aunt, you can't. Auntie Yvette, you can't have cheat snacks once a day. You can have, and please type in your response for what is a cheat snack, so we can go ahead and put that out there as well. Even a small reduction in the sodium in your diet can improve your health as well and reduce your blood pressure. So the effect of sodium intake on the blood pressure varies among groups of people. In general, you can limit sodium to about 2,300 milligrams a day or less. However, a lower sodium intake, and I think it's around 1,500, I believe, a day or less is ideal for most adults. Yeah, it is 1,500. So 1,500 is around the ideal for most adults for sodium needs. So once again, if you're cooking with spices, if you're cooking with herbs, don't go automatically and put salt on something. I know down south we do that. You know, we'll go to a restaurant, go to a buffet. You know, people from down south love buffets, by the way. And you go to the buffet, and then you go ahead and load the plate up, right? Sodium galore. You got fried catfish, you got macaroni and cheese, and then you go and dump sodium on there, and your arteries and your heart are having so much difficulty pumping your blood. Your blood pressure is elevated. It would be scary if after that, and maybe a scientific study can be done, what happens after you eat a buffet from before you go inside and they take your blood pressure to when you go after the outside, you know, and once you finish eating and what their blood pressure would be. It would almost scare people how much your blood pressure is elevated. So once again, read your food labels. If possible, alternatives. Make sure your beverages, you know, your body's well, drink as much water as you can. And like I said, the main thing, eating fewer processed foods really help overall with lowering your blood pressure. Don't add the salt. And, you know, because salt also in small amounts are already naturally occurring in foods. Most sodium is added during the processing. So when they're processing food, just like they did when they came over here on the Mayflower and they were salting the meat in order to preserve it, they are doing the same thing now inside of preserving your food that you have on a packaged shelf. That's why you need to make sure you shop on the outside of the supermarket where all those green vegetables, where all those fruits are, because the moment you move towards the inside is the blood pressure elevation willing and ready to happen. It is so important that you're making that circle around the shopping center to make sure that you're getting those kale and the celery and the fruits and the grains and everything in that manner. Because if you're not doing that and moving towards the inside, those processed foods that you're grabbing are going to be loaded with sodium. They're going to elevate your blood pressure. And if your blood pressure is already elevated, it's going to put you in a very dangerous zone. And like I said, high blood pressure is the number one. High blood pressure is the number one cause of stroke in the United States. So, you know, use just a teaspoon, just be easy on it. And the thing is, your palate will adjust over time. Growing up from the South and putting a lot of salt on things, my palate adjusted over time. And even though all this tastes bland, there's so many things now in the form of Miss Dash and other sodium-free things that are healthy for you that it does taste, you know, pretty comparable as well. So just be smart. One of probably the things that people aren't going to want to hear, and is the correlation between high blood pressure and alcohol. So alcohol can have a definite direct effect on your blood pressure as well. So eating and drinking, and especially drinking alcohol, if you're going to do it, please do it in moderation. Generally, you know, a drink every other day is considered moderation. But one drink can equal, you know, 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine. We know that, or 1.5 ounces of 80 proof liquor. But the protective effect is lost if you drink too much alcohol. So drinking more than the moderate amount of alcohol can actually lead to elevated blood pressure by several points. It can also reduce the effectiveness of your blood pressure medications. So it's important here, right? You're on blood pressure medication, but you're drinking, beer 3-4 times a week. If you're doing that, your blood pressure medication is actually kind of being nullified because of the fact that you're drinking these things and the alcohol is dissolving the medication that you're using. And since the alcohol is dissolving the medication that you're using, it's almost like you're not taking the medication at all. So if you're on blood pressure medication, if by all means, as a nutritionist, I am pleading with you, do not consume alcohol. And if you have to, for whatever reason that means, you have to do it a beer every other day, a glass of wine, every other day. But it is actually impeding the medication that you're using when you're drinking alcohol and you're taking high blood pressure medication. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't understand that, but it's very important. There's been scientific correlations. There's been several class correlations, meaning the fact that they've done several studies and compounded the data, and now there's a linear regression, which means it goes back and they're looking at what happens over time, and they find out that people's medication is highly affected when you take in alcohol and consume alcohol. So in wrapping up in the last few minutes, I just kind of want to go over some of the important things that we talked about, and the most important thing is that we know that 65 million Americans with high blood pressure don't have it under control. That's 32.5 million Americans don't have their blood pressure under control. And they can get it under control sometimes without the use of medication. And that comes to, and let me be clear, there are some people that are so far gone, and genetics, the way they eat and the way they drink, as far as like sugary drinks and things like that, have them so far gone that they have to take medication. And even weaning off the medication, some people will have to be on medication for life because of the way their body is now operating, and they need that medication. But the most important thing here that we can discuss is how to wean yourself, because I know there's 4 or 5 medications out there just to treat blood pressure, right? And the thing about it, it's not treating the blood pressure, it's controlling the blood pressure. So we got to make sure we understand the difference. A lot of times we're ignorant on that. We're like, oh, I'm taking this because it's treating my blood pressure. No, it's helping maintain your blood pressure so you don't have a stroke and die. That's what it's doing, but it's not the end all be all. What's the end all be all is you changing your diet, incorporating so much more plant-based things in there, and making sure that you're eating more fish, more nuts, more legumes, trying to burn as many calories as you're taking in. That means making sure you're exercising, turning your vegetables and fruits instead of eating those sugary drinks. You're selecting your pastas if you are eating, the breads and the carbohydrate-rich foods. Ensure, please, if you don't remember anything else, ensure that they are whole grains. That's going to help a lot if you feel that you need to do that and process everything. Everything that's processed, is not great for you. You know what I mean? That's just going to be transparent. Eat it in its most natural form, in its most organic form. Use unsaturated fats like olive oil, soybean oil, corn oil, those type of oils instead of butter, because butter also, the sodium chloride in there spike it up. And rely on fresh or frozen foods instead of that canned and processed stuff. And please decrease your caloric intake if you need to lose weight. It is going to be so important as you lose weight. Just a quick testimonial. One of my athletes had high blood pressure basically all her life. We have been working together for a couple of years, and now she is completely off medication. She understands her body type. She understands the macronutrient breakdown of her diet. And we couldn't be more proud. She was so happy, crying happy that, she went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, you don't need to be on medication. We'll continue to monitor it because we know it's hereditary and genetic. But right now, your blood pressure and just changing that with food is so dope as a nutritionist. Makes me so happy, makes me elated to do what I do. Like I said, at the end of the day, I just want our community to be healthy. I want our community to have the knowledge and understand. And you're right, Auntie Vita, pharmaceutical companies lie, and they say that all the time. And that's why people and doctors, and I'm just going to be honest, push medication because they're getting kickbacks from those pharmaceuticals to push the medication to you, and they're prescribing 4, 5, 6 different types of medication. When if you changed your diet, if you changed the way you ate, if you changed what you're eating as far as your food, if you change what you're eating as far as what you drink, you could probably come off 80-90% of the medication. You know why I know that for a fact? Because I've done it. I've done it with several clients, and I'll say at least 5 or 6 clients that are now completely off of medication, or they are only taking 1 to 2 medications when they were taking 5 to 6. So it's all about what you eat. Let your diet be your medication when it comes to high blood pressure. It affects, the ethnic community way too much. We're having strokes because we love our fried, catfish. And I get that. And there's nothing wrong with having that on your cheat meal, not cheat day. And there's nothing wrong with having that. But the most important thing that you can do for yourself is changing your lifestyle to your diet. And then that will help you take away the stigma that you need medication, and you can utilize naturally occurring foods. And then that way you can beat your high blood pressure with food. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love these sessions. Please keep the questions coming. Please keep the comments coming. If I didn't answer anything that you wanted me to touch on, please leave comments below. So much love out there for best practices. And like I said, at the end of the day, we just want to get healthy together. God bless and be safe. And we will talk again in 2 weeks on our next best practice. Thank you so much for tuning in. Peace.